Hi everybody, I'm Louise from AbSafe, and I really am very grateful for the time that Steve has given us today. So I'd like to introduce you to Steve Rae, who's the Executive Director for Step Change in Safety. And I want to say a big thank you for joining us today. So I wonder if we could start, Steve, by if you could tell people who are watching this what you do.
Yes, Louise. So what do? I head up an organisation that is funded by the oil and gas community that work collectively to improve safety offshore. Now that sounds pretty simple, but it's pretty complex.
What makes it complex?
So the complex part of this, the work that we do, is that we have many large members such as Shell, BP, Total. And we have very small members such as local companies, one-man operating companies, and we have some international companies. Trying to get them all aligned on what they really want is not particularly easy.
That sounds really difficult, actually. I wondered if you could tell us how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn the clock back very far, and I'm going to tell you that I actually had aspired to be an architect when I left school.
Mm-hmm.
I actually took up a traditional apprenticeship as an electrical engineer,
mm-hmm.
and I completed that around the time when oil was coming to Aberdeen. So I finished my apprenticeship when I was 18 years old, and I've known nothing else apart from the oil and gas industry for over nearly 40 plus years. I got to be in the position I am is not because I'm a safety professional or I was particularly enthused by safety as a young man. I just happened to find myself on Piper Alpha the night that exploded on the 6th of July 1988. And that had what I can only describe as a transformational impact on my life that ultimately led me to think about safety far more seriously and the safety of others. And I became pretty relentless and passionate around that. I still didn't become a safety professional, but I was very passionate around safety. And eventually when I returned to Aberdeen after working overseas for almost 9 years, I was thinking about retiring, and I was offered this position as head of Step Change in Safety, and I couldn't think of a better job to give back to an industry that had been very kind to me, and I'd been very fortunate to end up continuing my career and given my experience on Piper Alpha.
I mean, when you mentioned Piper Alpha, obviously that's a massive legacy for the industry, but also for people in Aberdeen. And yeah, I don't know, but I can understand when you say it was a transformational moment for you, and I'm sure for others that were part or even connected to that event. In terms of your role now, what is the best thing about your role?
The best part of my role is I get to meet many, many like-minded people who are absolutely committed to caring and looking after others in their workplace, but also very innovative about the solution. So it's not just about process and paper and policy. It's about being inspirational around how you care for people. There are tragic moments when you hear about unfortunate incidents that still happen, but it's being able to contribute to making that bearable and acceptable to others while also making a change that can potentially save a life.
I mean, we don't do the same thing, but we do a similar thing. So the reason that I am very passionate about what I do is for a similar reason. If we can impact on a young person to make a different decision and save either their well-being, reduction of harm, or their life, I mean, that's a job done for me, isn't it? And I know that we both feel very passionate about that. And that's why we do what we do. I wondered if I know you've touched on some of the difficulties around your role, but what are some of the difficulties around your role as the executive director? Oh, can we ask, what does executive director mean?
So, yeah, good question for the people on the call. So an executive director effectively is the one responsible for how the company is run and governed from a legal standpoint, and also from delivering to its membership on the things that they've asked us to deliver on. So I'm answerable to a board of directors, and I'm also answerable to a leadership team who have approximately 20 senior leaders from across the industry. So that's what I do. I manage a team of 6 people on behalf of industry.
Right. So what are the difficult parts of that role itself?
One of the most difficult parts is, although I'm a full-time employee and I have some full-time staff, most of our resources at work in developing these safety resources are all volunteers, similar to your organisation. They give their spare time to support us in working with us. And as you rightly know, and I'm sure most of the audience will know, that parents are probably involved in some of this, working in oil and gas is a pretty stressful full-time job. So when you're asking people to go beyond the normal call of duty, you have to have an expectation that they can't manage all the time. So managing on delivery schedules, etc., can be quite challenging due to the fact we only get people on a voluntary basis at times.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but you do it really well. So you should take a little pat on the back, I think, there, Steve, for yourself and your team. If you had any advice for the young people watching this chat, what would it be?
Two, what I would call golden nuggets of advice for folks that if I'd got it when I was their age, that would have made life not necessarily easier, but would have made it less stressful for me as an adolescent. And one was, don't get caught up in the fact you're going to be doing what you really think you want to do when you get to my age. The second thing I would say is life is forever changing. And what I would ask everybody, actually, I ask everybody I meet when I have the chance, and it's the same for children and adolescents, is be considerate of the choices you make that have an impact on other people. As a teenager growing up, that's something I never thought of. I thought about the here and now. And now, as a mature person who's seen many walks of life, I know the consequences of choices have to be thought through. So that's the two things I would say. Don't stress about what you're going to do when you leave school, and be conscious of your choices have a significant consequence on others.
I think that's really good advice. So my last question is a bit of a curveball question. If I gave you a magic wand today, so it's like a magic wand, it's amazing, what would you change?
Oh, if I could change anything, and I'm going to keep it in a tangible manner, I think I would have liked to be in the position I'm in 10 years ago, when I had more time in front of me to make a difference. So if I could change anything, it would be the time I have not left, but the time I have to do the things that I think I want to do.
Okay, that's great. So I want to again thank you on behalf of ABSA for you joining me today, and I'm really commend you on the work that you are doing and that you will do, and the impact that you've had on the industry in a positive way. So thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you.